Hey everybody, this is the guts of an IBM ThinkPad 765L, and I want to walk you through this teardown because it looks like a giant mess, and that's because it is. Not to mention the fact that there's so much moisture damage in here, I really doubt this system would be salvageable. That being said, everything is really clean and incredibly engineered. Everything is a daughterboard in this machine. So starting from basically what you'll have to remove to get in here, you've got this one had a 98 Hitachi daughterboard system connector. This is a CD drive, 20X CD drive, which is a nice drive. Now, I don't know, because this is IBM, if this is a standard drive with an IBM daughterboard connector attached. I'll probably take it apart just to see. With the rust that's going on it, I kind of doubt that there's anything usable in here, but it's going to be something we're going to look at. Here's your lithium-ion battery, which does appear to be in good shape. It's not bulged or anything. I don't see any obvious liquid ejections, so it might actually be okay. Now over here, there is, never mind this little heat pad I've pulled off, and I'll show where that came from earlier, but it does look like there's some onboard memory, potentially, on this little daughterboard that's for the RAM. So your RAM sticks both insert here, kind of like your traditional SODIMMs you see these days. This, I think, is 64 megs RAM. I think these are 32 apiece. I'm not sure what type of RAM this system uses. I assume it's just old school SD RAM. Now, there are several boards that have to come out to get access underneath this heat shield. So the first thing you'll do is you'll pop this up. And this now decided it wanted to come off, I think because the screw, which had rusted so bad I couldn't get it out, finally gave. But this is your top heat shield, and that sits on top of this daughterboard, and this has your video controller. So your video controller circuit here is run by a Trident Cyber 9385T, so nothing terribly flashy. You can see there actually is the capability of just soldering onto this board a VGA connector. So you could actually use this as an independent video card. It has a built-in fan on this board on the underside, and that cools the board below and all the components below it, actually. I love this surface laminar circuit technology that they've trademarked. What it is just a giant mess. Here's your add-on card connectors. That's where your plug-in Ethernet and things are going to go. For those little IBM cards you can slip into socket. Everything's ribbon cable controlled. Beneath here is a Hitachi LCD board that runs your monitor screen. It's got the VLSI video circuit. That'll run in tandem with your Trident. That's for your dual video out. So your VGA connector that is there. Now on the underside of this board, is where all the magic happens. And you can see the spoiler alert down here. But sitting on top of this board, there's a sound card. And the sound card is nothing fancy. It's just an ESS audio, straight up stereo sound card. Line in, line out. And then there is yet another daughterboard that sits on top here. This one, I think, is a alternating current board, I believe. I am basing that simply on where it sat, which was over here. But I really, honestly don't know. So, don't know. If anybody knows what this is, give me a shout. I'm not going to bother to look it up. It has a Maxim chip on it. I guess I'm not sure. So I got all this apart, and I'm wondering, where on earth is the Pentium that's supposed to be in here? Well, it looked like there was yet another daughter board underneath, but truth be told, your Pentium, which, spoiler alert, of course, is right here, this is actually socketed underneath this board. So this actually plugs in underneath this main motherboard, and there's where it goes. So it's got a nice like heat architecture to it. And if we take this out and actually flip this over, there's your north and south bridge and what would appear to be RAM on board. There's the dual socket design there. And then there's this other chip over here, which is kind of odd looking. It appears to have like a Santa Claus design on it. I just wanted to point that out because that's kind of awesome. I really don't know what that controller is for. If it's a math coprocessor or what that might be. And then there's another chip over here with a little design on it. I think that is a power chip interpreter, because here's where the battery feeds. So, I mean, just interesting design overall. This is a ribbon cable that connects over to the RAM board. So I believe that it has RAM on board, and then this is like a supplementary expansion. And then it has 2 additional RAM bays that you can upgrade to. So this might actually have had 64 on board between this 32, the other 32 by the north and south bridge. And then if you add that additional 64 for 128 total RAM, which seems like just an outstanding amount of RAM for this era, especially since it was designed for Windows 95. Unfortunately, this is totally soldered onto this chipboard. Very interesting Pentium processor. I love all the heat mitigation that they've done with this laptop. Sadly, I don't think the monitor is any good just based on the condition of everything I found underneath. So I think this one's DOA, but there's some interesting components here I want to hang on to just to have on hand. And I actually have another IBM ThinkPad, and I don't know how compatible all this stuff is going to be from one system to another, but we might be able to use some of those components, possibly the processor, to experiment, test the processor, upgrade, who knows. The other thing I wanted to point out is on this keyboard, everything is pretty well contained. It actually has the speaker carrier there. This LCD screen, no idea what it's for. I don't know if that's for error messages or what it may be. It's got the sliding volume control for your audio board, and everything's operated through this one ribbon connector, but very solid design, built-in mouse and everything. This was the keyboard that I had on my ThinkPad, although I think mine was actually older than this and certainly wasn't as nice. But yeah, this has the MMX technology. I don't have any P1 MMX enabled Intel Pentium processor, so I was really hoping to find a full, desktop version in here. But kudos to the engineers at IBM, because this is probably the most fascinating disassembly I've ever done. I hate to admit that it's kind of haphazard, but all things considered, there wasn't really any saving this to begin with. But the good news is I think all the components are really fine. If I plug it all back together and screw it all back in place, it probably would work. I don't think the monitor works. So I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to test anything. It would be kind of interesting to see if we could actually solder on a VGA connector and turn this into an independent graphics card. But sadly, there's no interpreting interface that would be usable for this without doing some sort of a wiring voodoo connector for this. But very cool, all things considered. I do like a lot about this design. It's just funky and different. But at the end of the day, it's old, outdated technology. So this is definitely just a interesting piece. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it out to others who might be interested in old IBM, old PC technology, or just old electronics in general. Once again, I'm Urza Master. You can also catch me here on YouTube over at Pending Rebrand. I'm a co-host of several podcasts over there and co-owner of that business. We sure would appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow over there. We are getting into almost 100 episodes of our main podcast, closing in on 75 of our second level podcast. We have several other shows and a bevy of shorts that you might find interesting. Again, that's at Pending Rebrand. I'm Urza Master. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.